Good evening and welcome to the final week of our Fire Sprinkler CAD Basics Bootcamp. I'm your host, Colby Stachwick. Last week, we basically completed the design of our system for our project, and tonight we'll be talking about preparing your documents for submittal to our local authority having jurisdiction. So, my clicker always breaks at the beginning for some reason. So after that, we're going to talk a little bit about where we can go from here. So let's get into our presentation. All right, this is again week 8. This is the course wrap up. All right, so all of these people may not be here at the moment. Some of them maybe, most likely are. But all of these people helped contribute to bringing this course to you for this past 8 weeks. And I want to just, again, this is make sure everybody's at the right place. This is the final week of the Fire Sprinkler CAD Basics Bootcamp, where we learn the CAD DWG basics for doing fire sprinkler drawings, so we know what we're getting into before we buy some fire sprinkler specific software. All right, so again, it's hard to believe, but this is the 8th week, our final week. And, it may, overwhelm. I cannot emphasize this enough. Overwhelm is normal. You may feel like you're drinking through a fire hose. It's a lot of information, but, that is normal when you're learning anything new. And we've got lots of resources to help you be successful. So have you finalized your plans for submittal to the authority having jurisdiction? Your success is our success. How can we help you be successful with your project? If you log into Kajabi, that's the platform where we host this course, and you go to the library, scroll down all the way to the bottom, there is a community page that you can get access to there are other members like yourself who are working on projects that you can communicate with. Monica is there moderating that, and so she is directing people if they're needing help and they're not finding answers. And in addition to that, if you go into Kajabi and log into the library, this is where you're going to find your main course material, the Fire Sprinkler CAD Basics Bootcamp. And all of your course material is going to be in there, broken up by weeks, and then in the beginning, starting with extra resources. And just so we're on the same page again, if you are here seeing this live, you have the opportunity to ask questions immediately following this lecture. There will be a Q&A session. All right, so one more thing I want to make sure you're aware of during the boot camp. My consulting services in the store are set up for free, so you can also, if you're stuck, you can get one-on-one help from me to, help you move forward. Reminder for everybody, we have been getting into some heavy drafting, so, it's very important to think about your comfort. You're going to be sitting for long hours in front of a computer potentially. I recommend a standing desk, but definitely just be thinking of your comfort sitting for long hours. And I cannot emphasize enough, if you have made it to week 8 without a scroll wheel, I'd love to hear about your experience, but I don't recommend it. Get a scroll wheel mouse. I just picked this one up at Walmart the other day for a backup to have with me when I'm on the road. I think that was $10. They're pretty cheap. All right, so we've been talking about this process, the MCAD process. We've been going between the layout checklist, when the pre-calc checklist, post-calc checklist was our final NFPA 13D specific. In between all of this, we had back and forth process between our technician and our manager of red lines to help move the technician through the process. We started out with a job order report that gave you critical information about the job, what type of sprinklers, these types of things. We got here's our layout checklist. That was our first checklist, which helps our technician to put the the floor plan and the cross section on the building, get this started so we can start communicating back and forth what information we are putting on here about the fire sprinklers. So that gets us that far. Then we go to the pre-calc checklist, and that basically got us laid out where we could, if we were a fitter in the field, we could probably install this thing, but we weren't necessarily, we're not going to get a permit. We don't quite have everything. This is just showing our folder back and forth. We've got several iterations, and we got them all saved in here so we can go back, figure things out, find where we went wrong, those types of things. And I would also be saving, if this is one of my technicians, I'd be saving my red lines in there, and it would just remain in order by how we are working through the project. All right, and then we talked about in between pre-calc checklist and post-calc checklist implies that there's calcs in between. Those calcs are hydraulic calculations to help us determine the pipe sizing that we need to make our sprinkler system work. And so we went through in our lectures, our live lectures, we went over how to read this report for the calc that we did for this project. We do not expect our technicians to be able to do hydraulic calculations at the beginning. This is something they step into once they feel comfortable, whenever they're ready for it, basically. But we also do have videos on how to actually input this into the program that's available in the course. That would have been week 6 when we did hydraulic calculations. And so there's videos in there on putting in with Sigma, I know, and we'll be adding more programs that we've been playing around with into there. All right. So again, after the hydraulic calculations, we moved to the post-calc checklist, which in this particular instance, our project we were working on for the sample ranch home, if that's your first project, we're working on a 13D system. So we went through the 13D system checklist with a few other notes that we just find in our experience are good to have on these plans when dealing with jurisdictions. And so this is basically where we ended up last week. If you were following along, we have completed system design, everything is on here. We got our hydraulic calculation information noted on the drawing. And there's really only one step left to actually, there's one more thing we need to alter on the drawing, which we're going to go over here real quick. And that is in this spot where the stamp goes, if you need a stamp, we have, right now it says preliminary, not for construction. And that is just so when we are sending early additions to the contractor, they don't get confused and actually send one of these out to the guys. We don't send them the final drawing with the stamp on it. When it's 100% done, we remove preliminary, not for construction. If it gets a stamp, it'll go there depending on the situation. And that's it. So we get that, our drawing, we get our hydraulic calculations. If we have, a water flow report, if there was a hydrant flow test report done by the local water jurisdiction, it's not uncommon, then you usually have to include that report with your submittal. We ended up doing a tank and pump, but if I was doing a drawing in the city of Portland on the Portland Water Bureau's water supply, I would include this form with that. Say I was just outside of Portland, working your way, this would be east. The water jurisdiction turns into the Rockwood PUD, I think it's called, Rockwood Water. And so, they have a different report, but it's got, all of the critical information. And the Portland report we're looking at here is a simulation. The Rockwood PUD's report is an actual flow test that they send guys out to do. But whatever your situation, it's a little bit different everywhere. If you have a water flow report, you will often be required to supply that with your plans as evidence, of, the actual water supply being proven that it exists. What you're saying in the calculations. Also, we have to supply a cut sheet of the sprinkler, usually with a 13D system. Typically, that's all the stuff that we have to supply. for a 13D system. If we get into 13R, sometimes we might have to do more with 13R, but not necessarily. Usually here it's just in 13 where we'll have to provide much more material data. What do you call it? Just material data sheets on all of the components of the system, like your valves, your piping, everything. Typically, we don't get asked for that stuff here in Oregon. They just want the sprinkler head cut sheet. But, you know, that might vary by, you know, depending on where you are. All right. And so at this point through the MCAD system, the manager will take the last preliminary PDF from the technician and he will put it in, or he or she, whoever, will put it into the submittal folder that we created in our file organization structure. And so our final documents that we are giving to the contractor to submit go into this folder. We've got our plan, sample ranch home FP1, then we've got here our hydraulic calculations. And the last thing they need on a 13D system is the cut sheet for the sprinkler. Now this is basically what that looks like if we were to print these out in physical form. And that's, you know, basically what we would have been doing for the most part up until probably COVID is we would be printing these out physically and taking them to the jurisdiction and submitting them, these pieces of paper. Oh no. Here we go. This was the next slide. I often get asked from people, what printer do you use? So that's why I'm putting this here. Unfortunately, this printer is no longer available. It's a little bit older now. I mean, boy, let me think about it. I think we got it 6 or 7 years ago. So it's not really that old, it doesn't feel, but it's still working great. I've used lots of HP printers over the years. When I got this, I think it might have been close to the end of its life cycle. I got it for $900. And the thing that I really like about this one is it has the roll feed for 24 by 36 drawings, but it also has the sheet feed in the back for ledger drawings, or, you know, 8.5 by 11s you could put in there as well. But that's just really handy to be able to print on 11 by 17s. It's just much more economical than the rolls of paper to buy reams of paper. So that's a pretty nice feature. What's available today that's kind of comparable without that rear feed, you know, as of, you know, recording this today, this is the 2025 boot camp and we're in December. This thing's $789. They actually were having a end of the year sale. So if you get in there before, you know, January, I think you can get it a few bucks off. But this thing, again, it doesn't have the sheet feed in the back, so it only will do rolls, but it's pretty, you know, it's a pretty good deal for $789. They do have the version, the cheapest one I could find on HP's site that does still have that sheet feed in the back is the DesignJet T630, and currently that thing is $1739. You can't get it without the stand. I don't have a stand for mine. I just have it on a bench. I don't know, sometimes the stand is nice. It just depends on your situation. But I really recommend you get, you know, we talked about how much money you can save on this software. Put that savings towards a plotter. You're going to have some way of printing these things. You might have a print shop that's close by. It's not as convenient as having one. It just never is. It's just super helpful to be able to print out a drawing. Think about when you're bidding on jobs, be able to print it out and look at it. It's much easier, and take notes right on the drawing. Really recommend getting a plotter. You don't have to get an HP. This is just what I am familiar with. So one thing I want to talk about you guys may be interested in, especially if you're from the sprinkler world, you may be wondering, what about material takeoff? What can we do about that? Well, we have created some automated Lisp routines to help you with that. And so we've got a short, I believe this is 3-minute video. And we are going to show you some of our new Lisp routines to help you with material takeoff. So I will see you in about 3 minutes. All right, guys, just want to do a quick video here on some new Lisp routines that we have for helping you do material takeoffs. So let's go into our sample ranch home where we've completed our project, but now we want to do some material takeoff so we can order materials and have it ready for the guys out in the field. So the first one I want to show you guys, I'm going to zoom into the command line here. And I'm going to type in count fittings. You can see it pops up. As soon as it pops up, I can just hit tab or enter. And it's telling me select entities. So I'm going to zoom back out. And I am just going to make a box selection around the entire sprinkler system. And I could keep selecting entities if I didn't get everything, but I'm done. So I'm going to right click. And now down in the command line, it says that we have a total of 12 T's and 10 elbows. All right, so that's pretty handy. I'm going to zoom back out, or wait, no, let's stay zoomed in. And let's type in sprinkler count. All right, so that's the only thing there. So I'm gonna, I guess, I don't know why I said you could hit tab earlier. You have to hit enter. So now we're gonna select entities again. Let me zoom back out. Select everything and right click. And let's see what we got. Tells us even that we have a riser assembly, but then we have 13 concealed sprinklers. That's pretty cool. Now, this is a small system, so it's not, that big of a deal. But if you were on a bigger system, that'd be pretty helpful. We've got one more here to show you guys now. Last one is pipe length. So I'm going to just hit enter and select entities again. So I'm going to go ahead and make a box around my whole sprinkler system. Right click and zoom back in, and it tells us that we have a total of 108.15 feet of pipe. Now, one thing, this is not measuring vertical rises, so you will have to take those into account, add them up as well. But I hope that helps you guys. Those are just some quick tools that we created to help you with material takeoffs. Thanks a lot. All right, let me get myself unmuted here. All right, so just a couple, 3, I guess, new cool tools to help assist with material takeoff. So now another question that's coming up before is like, how exactly do I apply for a permit? What help can you can you guys provide for me with that? So what we did to, the application process varies all over the place. So we're just going to talk about show you a couple applications for jurisdictions that we deal with a lot up here in Oregon. And there's certain things about these applications that are very similar across multiple platforms. They're not going to be exactly the same, but I think going over these two will give you a good overall idea of what you're going to be dealing with. So we're going to take a look at a couple. First one we've got here is the City of Portland. And this one is, so let me back up a little bit and say that there's we have two different styles of applications here. And this one is specific to fire sprinklers. The second one is really not. It's just a building permit applications and is not specific to fire sprinklers. Both of these are common. Some jurisdictions do have specific sprinkler applications, but they will be very different, but they will be asking for a lot of the information that we are going to be looking at on this application. So we're just going to kind of go through it. It won't be in this exact format, but it'll be similar type of information. And then depending on where you're at, the second application we're looking at, it could look very much like that where you're at. So we're going to compare these two. So this is City of Portland. This is Fire Sprinkler specific. And we're going to be mainly focusing on this area that I've circled in red here. That's the core of the information that they're asking about the sprinkler system. And okay, so I've filled it out here. So up at the top left, we've got the valuation. Then we've got, this is common that they ask for the valuation of the sprinklers. That's how they charge you. Okay, so it's based on that. A lot of guys put, not necessarily the most honest thing in that because they don't really have a way to check a lot of the times. So some places I've actually heard of them trying to require you to show them your contract, but I don't think they got away with that for long. But it's really kind of a known issue that contractors don't necessarily put the exact number of what the valuation is to try and save money on their permit fees. Now, they're just asking for information about, the project. What is this place called? Where is it at? How many levels? Then we get down, we've got these check mark boxes under installation. Well, this is a new installation, so we got that checked off. Under sprinkler, we've got complete. This is, completely sprinklered in a building per NFPA 13D. Sprinkler type is a wet sprinkler system. The supply, now this is a little bit not obvious, but what they're referring to here is actually what are you doing in your permit? So we have checked off sprinkler only. There's also underground only, and then there's underground with hydrants or sprinkler with hydrants. So it's pretty common that the fire sprinkler contractor is not installing the underground line. So you may be though, or you may be an underground contractor that's only installing the underground line and hydrants, those types of things. So you will fill that out accordingly. Then the last item on here, standpipe has wet dryer combination. Okay, that does not apply to our 13D system. That doesn't apply till we get into 13 systems 4 feet and higher, and we don't have that. Then across the bottom of this box, we've got, I wonder if I've got, no, I don't. Okay. Oops, went too far. Across the bottom, we've got, of the box, we got light hazard, ordinary, 1 and 2, extra hazard, 1 and 2, ESFR, ELO, high piled storage. None of these things apply to 13D. Those are only applicable to NFPA 13. So now we're going to go down to the questions below. First one, total work area, 1,438 square feet. Building size, 1,438 square feet. Now, you may have a variation in that because I'm not including the garage. If you're in California and you have to sprinkler in the garage, you're going to be, altering those numbers. Now, number of stories, 1. Number of systems, just 1 in this little 13D system. Total number of heads, there are 13. Number of standpipes, there are 0. It is not applicable. Density. Now, up above, when they were talking about the light hazard, ordinary hazard, extra hazard, all of these things are related to the density in a 13 system. The lightest density in a 13 system is 0.10. But in 13D and 13R systems, we are allowed to use half of that at 0.05. And so that's what we have for our density. So if we were using these same residential heads in a 13 system, we would have to flow them at a 0.1 density, which means rather than 13 gallons a minute, we would be flowing 26 gallons a minute out of those heads. Twice the amount of water. But fortunately, we don't have to do that with this 13D system. So moving on, our design area below our density, that's 512 square feet because we are flowing 2 heads in a 13D system at 256 square feet, as we have in our next box, sprinkler area, all the way over to the right. The top line says sprinkler area. Then it has orifice size, which is 1/2 inch, K factor, which is 4.9, temperature rating is 162, and then we have a description of work. It says new 13D system in new single family residence supplied by 350 gallon Talco home hydrant. All right, now below this on the application is where you just fill out, your info as the installing contractor. On the right, City of Portland does have this one thing, the certificate of fitness, which is a little bit unusual. For Oregon, this is the only jurisdiction in Oregon that has any kind of certification requirements beyond just having a contractor's license to work on sprinkler systems. You must have a certificate of fitness, and yeah, it's basically, I would say, kind of similar to like a NICET test for inspection and testing. The multiple choice, not too bad. It's been a while since I took it. I think I'm kind of getting back in the field a little bit, so I'll probably go take it soon. Maybe we'll put out some content about that. That might be interesting. Oh, looks like a little bit more of a zoom in. So that's where it talks about requiring your certificate of fitness information. All right. So now we are looking at, so I historically throughout my career in fire sprinklers have worked probably the most in City of Portland and then Clackamas County. The reason for that, I worked for small sprinkler contractors directly that were located in Clackamas County. That's where I lived. And it's right on the edge of Multnomah County, which is where Portland is located. Portland metro area, it's a massive suburb that really kind of bleeds into Clackamas. So this is just the closest area where there's a lot of work, and then you're in Clackamas County, so you're trying to do as much work there. That's just where it happens to be. I've now, worked all over the state, all over the West Coast, and even, east out to Kansas. But a lot of places I have seen use a similar format to this, and it's really a building permit application. They don't have a fire sprinkler specific application, and I've seen guys get kind of confused on how to fill it out. Basically, there's stuff it's asking about for the house that you should not have to worry about. They will have it on file if there's a existing permit for the work that's being done on the house already. So let's kind of look a little closer. If we zoom in to the top here, let me see how effective that is. For our project, we would check off new construction. We would check off it's a 1 and 2 family dwelling. Our address, No Name Lane, in Boring, Oregon actually would be in, if that existed, would be in Clackamas County. Project name, and then description of work, which is chopped off for you guys. But it says NFPA 13D fire sprinkler system in new single family dwelling supplied by Talco home hydrant. All right, let me see what else are we moving on. Property owner, you would just put, if you have the owner's names, you put it in there and put the address of the project you're working on. If you're doing a commercial project, you might have might be a tenant improvement, so you'd be putting the name of your tenant in there and checking the other box. But for our project, you'd just be doing the house. Now, you don't necessarily have to worry about having their phone number and email, even usually any of this information, if it's an existing project that has existing permits on it. If some crazy reason there is not an existing permit, you're just putting a sprinkler system in it. That happens for various reasons up here in Oregon. You may have to put out more of this information, at least fill in the address and the name, because they don't have that on file like they would if it was an ongoing project. So anyway, going down to, the contact applicant information, more than likely is going to be you, and the same as in the contractor information down below. Sometimes you'll work on a project where like the general just really likes to oversee what's going on with all the permits, and so he'll apply for everybody's permits, and so, you know, be slightly different in that instance. All sorts of things come up like that. Sometimes I've seen situations where the homeowner wants to take care of the permit fees and stuff and be on top of what's going on, and so they are applying for the permits. All right, up at the top right, a lot of information here about your 1 and 2 family dwelling that you should not be concerned about for a sprinkler system. This is really if you were applying for a building permit for a house. So all they're worried about is the $12,000 valuation or whatever your project is worth, so that they can bill you accordingly. Down here in the bottom corner, it's the fee schedule. How you're gonna get charged. I should have added this up, what it would cost for our project, but we said $12,000 just to throw a number out there. So we're in the category here of $2,001 to $25,000. So you'd have a base fee of $120. That would be for the first, $120 plus $740 for each 1,000 or over 2,000 or portion thereof. Okay, so $120 for the first 2,000. So we've got 10,000 over that. So we would have $74 added. So that'd be $194 for our permit. That was easier than I expected. Shouldn't have planned on doing math on the fly. All right, but what about, these days, since COVID, quite frankly, is when this really started, went into full force. You might not, a lot of places have brought it back now, but for a while we weren't able to apply in person. You had to do it online. So let's talk about that process a little bit, the differences. Now, California has, their own system. I'm going to be showing you the Oregon system, but it's different. I mean, it's similar. A lot of states use the Excella system. That's what Oregon uses. So if you're in a state that's using Excella, you're going to have a very similar process. But, you just basically click on the apply button, and I'm not going to go beyond this, but the first thing it takes you to is, the job site location, and you just fill it out. And it just takes you, once you put it in there, it just takes you to the next thing it needs to know. And it's very similar information to what we were looking at on those applications. It's just, it asks you one at a time, you fill it out, move on to the next thing. One thing you do have to deal with online is, how are you going to be managing the documents that they want? Some jurisdictions are going to want all of your documents in one PDF. Some don't want it that way. They all will have just different variations. This is really kind of the biggest thing that's a pain about it. Some of my clients like to have just add a page to your drawing that has the cut sheets and stuff to it, and just put all of that online and submit it instead of submitting the separate sheets. You may also, depending on where you're at, this is a cover page for Orange County that they require. If you have something like this at the jurisdiction where you're at, how do you add that to your drawing? You can't really add this as a page in AutoCAD. I mean, I guess you could theoretically do it that way, but we're not going to get into that. That's we're not going there. What's much easier is to use a tool like I recommend, PDFill free PDF tools. This is what I've been using for years. They do have a paid version. It's not very much. I guess maybe you should check that out, because there is one annoying thing that this does that I'll show you with the free version only. It's just like an advertising thing you have to deal with. So, but this does, let's see, it has several tools, 15 different tools for free that all work great. But we're just going to talk about the first two, which are the main ones that we use for putting together, taking apart PDF files for submitting however they need them at a jurisdiction. If they want, your CAD file and everything, your hydraulic calculations, all one PDF document. You just drop them into here, and then whatever you order, you have them in the list. You can just drag and drop it from a folder that has it open, and you can sort up and down. Whichever's at the top will be the first, and then you hit, where is it? Save as up at the bottom, and down at the bottom. And now you have a new paid PDF, whatever you want to call it. The next one, I guess I should stay zoomed in, is split or reorder pages. You know, we sometimes when we're dealing with 13 might have a PDF of submittal documents of just materials, you know, that's like 50 pages. And maybe, you know, we did one last month for this client, and the only difference is, you know, there's no dry pipe valve. So we might just take the old submittal package and we can just pull that dry pipe valve out of it with this very easily, save it as a new file. It's pretty handy. And so here's the annoying part. When you go to close out of this program, it gives you this notice that says, thank you for using PDFill free PDF tools. Please help PDFill by upgrading to the PDFill PDF editor, professional or enterprise version. And then it takes you to their website. I'm just showing you this because that's every time you close out of that program, it's going to take you this. That's the annoying thing with the free version. But go to this website, pdfill.com, and go to download to get the free version. They also have, you know, the professional version here. I think it's only like $20, but it's up to you what you want to put up with. It works great, the free version. You do have to install this Ghost script, and it's you know, you don't have to be worried about it. It's a Windows thing. It's not anything harmful, but if you didn't want to do that, you could pay the $20 and get those same tools. They even have, quite frankly, all of those tools available from this website in a browser-based version where you don't have to download anything. So you can check that out too. All right, another program I really recommend you guys might need, especially if you're creating, you know, submittal packets with, you know, some people like to have a cover page for like your hydraulic calcs and your material submittals, the contractor logo. Some jurisdictions even require it. Lots of people don't care about it. But if you want to do that and you don't have Microsoft Word, you don't want to pay the fee, I really highly recommend OpenOffice. That's what I recommend. You can go to openoffice.org and download it. And I use OpenOffice Writer to prepare for this presentation all the time. And it's compatible with Microsoft Word if you have files that you want to open. It works great, and it's totally free and open source. And like, this is just some examples of cover pages that we make all the time with OpenOffice Writer. All right, so pop the champagne, guys. This is basically, that's it. You have completed a drawing. You've now know how to submit it. You know what things to look for. This is quite an accomplishment if you can make it to this point. And, you know, pat yourself on the back because I'm not there to do it for you. But so now you can submit your plans to your local authority having jurisdiction. And we have a video prepared for you guys. This is a nice little graduation presentation by Micro. This was given, I think it was in May of 2020, during the pandemic. But many of the things that he's talking about, I think, you know, still apply until I find a better graduation video from him. We're going to keep using this one, but it's really, you know, the things that apply to the trades, I think, you know, are very applicable, including these drafting skills related to the trades. These services are not going away and the need for them. So anyway, here's 8-minute video from Micro, and we will be coming back with a little bit more before we get to Q&A. All right, guys. See you in 8 minutes.
Hi, America. Mike Rowe here with an unsolicited commencement speech delivered at the height of the plague. I can't help but notice that every celebrity in Hollywood has offered their heartfelt congratulations to the class of 2020, with a particular emphasis on graduates from some of America's finest universities. Now, I think that's swell, and I'd like to extend to them my heartfelt congratulations as well. However, I couldn't find a single celebrity who spoke specifically to the graduates of trade schools, or for that matter, to high school graduates who decided to forego a university experience in favor of learning a skill. So, as a guy who runs a foundation whose primary purpose is to promote the skilled trades, I thought maybe I'd offer a brief word of encouragement to them. Here it is. Ready? Thanks. Thanks for resisting the temptation to borrow vast sums of money in exchange for a diploma that guarantees you nothing but an obligation to pay off an enormous debt. Thanks for choosing a vocation that will benefit our country while affording you a genuine opportunity to prosper. Most of all, thanks for ignoring the many myths and misperceptions that keep millions of people from exploring a viable career in the trades. In particular, this stubborn belief that a 4-year degree is the best path for the most people, and that trade schools are for students who, don't have what it takes to cut it at a university. Instead of a speech, I'm going to introduce you to 3 people who mastered a useful skill. Each of these individuals received a work ethic scholarship from my foundation and got the training they needed to put their skills to use in the real world. First up, Michael Gamez. Michael's dream was to follow in his grandfather's footsteps and become the best mechanic he could possibly be. He graduated from UTI a couple years ago, and today he's recently married, making more money than most of his buddies with 4-year degrees, and living his dream.
My goal, and it's been my goal ever since kindergarten, I still have my poster on my wall that states my ending goal. And it's the same, and it stays the same, and it will always be the same, and it is to have my own shop.
Michael Gamez didn't settle for trade school, nor is he a grease monkey stuck in some dead-end job. He's an automotive technician in the 21st century. His opportunities to advance today are unlimited, and he can apply his skill anywhere in the country. And he started, just like you, by learning a skill that's in demand. Now say hello to Chloe Hudson. Chloe's dream was to become a plastic surgeon. Then she looked at the cost of medical school, the cost of medical insurance, and the reality of starting her career hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. At which point, Chloe reconsidered her dream and learned how to weld. Now, she's making 6 figures a year, doing what a lot of people still say is a man's job. You tell me, does Chloe look like a man?
If I want to make a man's money, I'm going to do a man's job, and I don't care. I just don't care what it takes. And I'm going to do it with lashes. I'm going to do it with lipstick, because if I'm better than everybody else, you can't deny me. And that's what I strove towards. Just be the best at it. Don't be the best female welder. Be the best welder, and you cannot be denied.
Chloe Hudson looked beyond the stereotypes and stigmas that keep so many women from pursuing opportunities in the trades. Now she's killing it. So too is this guy, Josh Loy. Josh graduated with 2 liberal arts degrees and a mountain of debt. At 32, he finally realized he was never going to make enough money to pay off his student loans. So Josh hit the reset button hard and learned a skill that's in demand.
I have been working all through this whole ordeal. From what I've heard, we are backlogged. We have more work than we know what to do with. I have no student loan debt. Next month, I will have no personal debt. And remember that the student loans that you take out today could very easily become the house, the car, the vacation, the retirement, or the family that you are not able to have tomorrow.
I could introduce you to 1,000 other people like Josh, Chloe, and Michael. Literally, 1,000. And maybe I should, because these are regular people who all applied for and received a work ethic scholarship from the MicroWorks Foundation. And they prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that hard work and the mastery of a skill that's in demand can lead to a prosperous life. If I had the time, I'd share all their stories with you because their success is way more persuasive than anything I could ever hope to tell you. And your success is all but guaranteed if you follow their example. So, that's my advice. Follow their example. Practice your craft every day. Become indispensable to your employer. Show up early. Stay late. Distinguish yourself on the job at every opportunity and be proud of the path that you've chosen. It's a good path and it'll take you far. But do me a favor. As you advance in the skilled trades, don't completely dismiss the liberal arts just because the cost of a degree has become scandalous. Fact is, universities are no longer the sole repositories of worthwhile information. If you have a smartphone and a connection to the internet, then you have access to every single thing currently for sale in the classrooms and lecture halls of America's finest universities for free. Take advantage of that. Be curious about everything and use the tools at your disposal to satisfy that curiosity. As you can tell from the music, I'm about to wrap things up, so here then are my final thoughts on the path that you have chosen. All work is noble, and all workers are essential, but some jobs are more secure than others. And when things get back to normal, this country is going to enter a new age of work, a new age of making things and fixing things and building things, an age where skilled workers like you are going to be in demand like never before. If you're a skilled tradesperson with an entrepreneurial spirit, a willingness to get dirty, a disposition to travel, and a burning curiosity to learn all that you can, I'm telling you, your opportunity to prosper has never been better. I encourage you to be that tradesperson. Anyway, thanks again for learning a skill that's in demand, and congratulations for starting a career of meaningful work. Good luck in all you do.
All right. Well, congratulations, everyone, on making it this far. But, what's next? Where do I go from here? Obviously, these are the basics. So, a lot of potential from here. We've been working on this NFPA 13D sprinkler system. This has all been based off of, this is the first YouTube channel that I started. I believe it was 3 years ago now. And it's come a long way. I had this vision of building this course off of this, and this is where we are today. And this is, this is floor plan that you have produced. I got an example here with the site plan. If you want to take another stab at it, just pretend they have a water supply out at the street. We're going to be adding more information as well about hydraulic calculation software. We've had a few people ask us, about specific programs. So if you have a specific program that you're interested in, let us know, and we can, we may be able to help you out. We have some stuff that we don't, about some programs that we are not publishing publicly, but we might be able to share with you to help get you started. But we're trying as many as possible. One of the ones that we're going to be making more videos about is hydronics. But the first calc program I bought when I went out on my own was Hydronics Commercial 4.4. And I also have a technician that has Residential 6.0. So hopefully we can make some videos about both of those. This season especially, we've had lots, quite a few seasons actually. There's been quite a bit of interest, always in Elite software. And I think the reason is because you can buy the program right off their website. A lot of these programs, it's harder to get. But you can download a actually a demo of the software that will give you, I think it's 11 nodes that you can use in the demo. And so you could do our project. You could calc a house. You have to pay $6.99 for the entry level. So that's why a lot of people, this is probably one of the, cheaper ends to get started. And a lot of people, I think it's pretty popular because of that reason. If you are thinking that you might get into the upper range of this price range, I would definitely think about other software before you consider Elite. There's a little bit, there's some quirks with the software. But it's okay. It'll definitely calc a house. Also, there's great software out there from Viking, VCalc, and we've played around with that a little bit. We need to play with it more, get some more content out there, but you do have to contact a Viking sales rep in order to get access to this. And I've, heard from, various reports of capability with that. We didn't have any problem, but depending on, where you are, if you're not connected to Viking because you're not buying products there, maybe one of the clients you're doing drawings for is, that can help you connect you to someone there. You just need to talk to a sales rep about getting you set up. And it's totally free. And, who doesn't love that? Now, you also might want to check out, if you want to learn more about sprinklers, you can check out my video on Viking. Has software called Virtual Viking. You can get it for free on Steam if you want to check it out. But I have a video with Chris Jansen where we walk through a building and just look at the sprinklers. And you might want to check it out yourself if you want to learn more about sprinklers, how they work. This is a totally free virtual software. It's pretty fun to play with, quite frankly. If you have VR goggles, it's cool to do it in VR, but you don't have to. You can just do it on your computer screen. Well, let me see if I can zoom up. This is an image from inside in a virtual riser room. It's kind of fun to play around with stuff. You can't break anything. So again, I mentioned the main, project that everybody's working on all came from this first YouTube video we did. Well, another YouTube video we did, the second one, is this 2-story house. And so that's why this is also now available as a second project you can work through. And we have a special offering for you guys who do that. We're giving you, just like the first project, you got a job order report for this house, and you're going to get architectural background files of each floor, and you're going to get a cross section. And so there's, a little bit of difference working with, a 2-story house with a single story. We got to think about how are we going to go? How are we going to travel between the walls from one floor to another? This floor or this building also happens to have a portion of the second floor with sloped ceilings, as you can see in this cross section. So these are all a little bit, here's a cross section going the other way. So only a portion has a sloped ceiling and then the rest is flat. All of these things have to be taken into consideration when we are doing our hydraulic calculations. So we need to have an idea of what's going on there. Here's a glimpse of what a completed project looks like with that. And any of you who submit your 2-story home after the boot camp is over, in between boot camps, you can submit it for up to 3 times between boot camps. If you are coming back through the boot camp a second time, you can take it with that that iteration of your time going through the boot camp. You can submit it during the 8 weeks as many times as you need. But in between, if you want to work on this between now and the next boot camp, you can submit up to 3 times and we will review it for you. If you complete this second home, we will also give you a certificate from us. Now, what does that say? Well, it says that we have confidence in you to complete 2 NFPA 13D projects. That says something. So Students who complete the course and submit the 2-story sample project to earn a certificate will receive a free review of your first real-world NFPA 13 project by MCAD to ensure accuracy and compliance. So if you're nervous about submitting for the first time to the jurisdiction, we'll take a look at it for you. We'll tell you, if there's anything that we see as a red flag of things we've come against. And, nothing doesn't help have a little reassurance on your first project to help you through it. So the other thing is that we will consider you for drafting work as an independent contractor with MCAD. And if you're interested, we'd love to explore potential collaboration. We love to reach out to contractors in various parts of the country where we have students. And it's been awesome since we created this course just to put the two together. It's been a lot of fun, very interesting process. So just to give you an idea of what's coming from MCAD, we are actively seeking new clients in California, especially where we've been pushing hard. We're working with a lot of people in Oregon as well, and we've trying to go after Texas a little bit because it's just a little less complicated than California with no seismic requirements. So we have a little bit more capacity in that direction. But, we're really considering work everywhere, especially in residential. We have a lot of capacity for that because our course is based on residential. We have a lot of people now that believe in what we're doing and have learned our system and are ready to go. If you are interested in us helping you find work in your area, we can help. We create flyers like this. We can do outreach in your area, help find work. Depending on what your situation is, let us know. Let's talk. This is just another flyer. This is, wanted to mention also, we have been, if anybody, have not heard from anybody yet that's doing the 13R this round, the beta. So I think we're going to probably have to leave it in beta the next go round, but we'll have more content for it when we come in the spring. We don't have a hard date yet, but we will be running the boot camp twice a year from now on. So we'll be going again in the spring, and then in the fall, it's, just a couple weeks earlier than we have been doing in we say winter, but we're really doing the fall, late fall. And we're dipping a little too much into the Christmas time, so we're going to pull that back a little bit and, call it fall. We're going to be doing twice a year, spring and fall every year. And in addition to that 13R beta project, we also have another, 13R project that I made a video for on YouTube. This is actually our most popular video on YouTube. And if you would like to work on this project, I have files for this project that I can give you. So this would be a 3-story 13R project. And similar to our 13R beta, I could give you, everything you need to work through that. We don't have it as set up as our 13R beta. The reason that we have, that little smaller 13R is just a, simple step. It's a single story. It's only 3 units. It's, just bare, 13D is up to duplexes, single family and duplexes. So when you get that third unit in there, that makes it a 13R. We're just under 2,000 square feet on that project just to keep it easy to work on. Plus there's stuff to talk about, right? With 2,000 square feet on 13R, that's the cutoff. If you're under that and a single story, you don't need a fire department connection. So really the whole reason we made it that size is just to keep it simple, lower the overwhelm. And also so we could talk about that rule about the 2,000 square feet on 13R does not require a fire department connection. So also you could check out my video on manufactured home fire sprinkler system design. If you are interested in getting into this in, where you are at, I would love to help you work with the manufactured home company where you are at. I've worked with a couple, and so I can give you some insights. especially if you're in an area where I'm not already working, I would love to talk to you about connecting with some manufactured home. What do you call them? I don't know. Not a warehouse. It's a manufacturing plant, I guess. Okay, also, let me see where I'm at with time. I need to wrap it up. I'm sorry, guys. We're going long. Let me keep going here. So, if you want, one thing you may be wondering about is details. You know, we've been providing you with 13D and 13R riser details. You may in 13 get to a point where, hey, I need to start creating my own details. Well, we do it with a program called SketchUp, and I'm going to be showing you some of the stuff that we can do with that. There is a free version of SketchUp that you can do the stuff we're doing to start learning. If you want to export it to CAD, the cheapest version they have is like $150 a year. That can do that. We just export to DWG so that we can bring it into our CMS IntelliCAD or AutoCAD, whatever you're using. And then we label the details in there with our leaders and whatnot that we have. But let's take a look at some of our SketchUp stuff. These are some different details that we made for 13D systems here. Here is a 13 system riser detail. It's coming into a basement. We've got, this is big 4-inch pipe with coming in and going out to a fire department connection. Here, this is a riser detail from a project that started out as 13R, but they ended up having to do a full-on 13 system with standpipes. So initially, they tried to get it to work with as a 13R with the plumber's supply. So we use an isolation valve from Tyco. And this is the valve that I'm talking about. And as far as I know, there's nobody out there who has a 3D model of this, but I was able to draw one in SketchUp. And I took this cut sheet from Tyco. It has this diagram, and I took the PDF and I converted it using any DWG to it says any DWG to PDF converter. That's right. Say that 3 times fast. So I converted it, and this is in CAD, and then I brought, this is the, let's see, so we got a 1-inch on top and 2-inch on the bottom. This is a close-up of the 1-inch. This is how I basically cleaned it up of everything except for what I needed to bring this into SketchUp so I could create it in 3D. This is the 1-inch version, and then on the right we have the 2-inch version, which is what we have in our detail. And, you know, basically I just took that, you could see all the segments there. I just took this flat 2D thing and brought it in and rotated it around the axis. And it's pretty simple to do stuff like this in SketchUp. So I recommend you at least start playing with it. Just really easy, intuitive tools to work with. And it's kind of fun, really, to play with. It's kind of reminds me, I tell people of like I've been on Windows since, you know, the 90s, and we had, you know, on Windows 4.1 starting out back then or whatever it was, you know, Microsoft Paint. It kind of seems like SketchUp is like a natural progression of easy to use tools like Microsoft Paint taken into 3D. Just really intuitive and easy, fun to play around with. So this is that detail in 3D in SketchUp, just kind of orbiting around. And they ended up going to, having to use a 4-inch and doing a standpipe. So this is actually that same building. It's kind of a convoluted standpipe because the building was never designed for this. Well, we were able to make it work. And this is 4-inch pipe that they had to bring in to feed that. We have a hose connection on both stairways at every level. You could kind of tell from this possibly that the stairway to the left is split into 2 stairwells. And this is the final detail that we were able to make from it. This is SketchUp. We exported that into DWG, brought it into our IntelliCAD or whatever CAD program we're using, and labeled it in there, you know, right in our template that you guys have been using. This is another project. This is a smaller building that had standpipes, 4-story, but very small building really for 4-story. And from this, this is our standpipe, and all of our details for the drawing come from this one detail. So that's what we're going to kind of demonstrate here as I go through these. I'm going to click up at the top on the dry riser detail, and that's going to take us right to the view for our dry riser detail that we export into CAD for our dry system riser detail on our plan. The next one is, I believe it's our roof FTC we're clicking on, and we're just moving direction, and we're just taking a snapshot of this and exporting it as a DWG, and that's going to become our roof fire department, or our roof, what is that? Roof hose connection. This would be like a roof hydrant with a post indicator valve here. This is what's pictured. And the next one, we're going from our roof hydrant to a floor control valve detail on one of the floors. Each floor is, has an individual shutoff valve for the floor, and this is exported into CAD to create a detail for that. Then we go to the next one. From there, we're going to our main riser detail where the water is coming into the building. That dry pipe detail was all the way on the top. To limit the capacity of our dry system, we put it closer to the dry system, which was up in the attic. And this is our main riser detail. We've got one supply coming in and one going out to a fire department connection, and we've got 2 control valves here. And then we also use SketchUp for creating our seismic bracing details. We're just going to show you a few here. Let me see if I can zoom in. That'll help a little bit. And this is let's see, that would be a lateral brace. Here we are on a lateral and a longitudinal brace. And I think that's the last one for this. If we go to the next slide, you can see this is where it ends up. That's the details that we export and put right onto our seismic bracing calculations. Got each one of those things that we were looking at in SketchUp, we can see here that we used in CAD to create our seismic bracing calculation with the detail for the specific type of brace. So all of these were created, the detail with SketchUp. Now this is a more interesting project maybe. I built this shed and drew it when we first moved here in CAD. Flat 2D, but when I added a chicken coop into the building, I drew it in SketchUp. And so this is just looking into the building in 3D. It's just pretty simple, 2x4 framing, but the shed was already here, but I added this other framing it's just 2x4s and plywood. And just was able to design that and see what it was going to look like. And as we added that, so that portion is the chicken coop. You can see out the back, there's a door that goes to our chicken run. The area right in front of it is just for storage. And the area to the right of that, which is kind of clipped off, is where our goats sleep at night. If you like that kind of stuff, this is kind of what me and Chris Jansen are going to be getting into on our podcast that we are working on. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff in SketchUp, and we'll also be using Chief Architect. We'll be using AutoCAD here and there, or DraftSite, CMS IntelliCAD, whatever flavor of the day is. And we're going to be doing all kinds of projects, designing them in CAD first, and then going to the real life situation and all the way to completion, working through it in the middle with the client, making decisions and looking at the final install from, when it starts going installed to the completion. So we're, look forward to that. Come check us out. It's youtube.com/dreamit2buildit if you want to look for us and subscribe. Nothing on there yet, but will be coming 2026. Look forward to that. So other learning resources we want to talk about. I recommend you check out the firesprinkler.org Fire Sprinkler Forum from AFSA. You can create an account here, and you will get, if you have questions, you can email, and everyone who is a member will get sent your question and have an opportunity to answer it. And likewise, everybody in this group that has a question, we all get the question, and everyone has a chance to participate. Or you can just, kind of read at what's going on, and it's really interesting to see the problems that people are coming up across and the solutions. It's an excellent resource, and it's totally free. You don't have, no requirements to join this. Another great free resource I recommend is you go to Reddit and check out the subreddit of Fire PE. Check out another good one is Fire Sprinklers and Sprinkler Fitters. And last but not least, you'll sometimes find really good fire sprinkler information on the MEP Engineering subreddit, it's called. And these are just basically forums where people are asking for help. This is a funny meme that somebody put on there. As-built plans save lives. This is MEP engineers when you see as-built plans for a 50-year-old building, and it's Luke Skywalker reaching out and saying, the sacred text. So another resource you may want to check out. We are on Facebook at MCAD FireCAD, if you want to check us out. It's one resource to find out information about what we have going on. And in addition to our group, there are a lot of great groups. Fire Sprinkler Design Forum is a great one to find out about design. Recommend joining these to find out as much as you can about. There's great ones on inspection and testing, every aspect, and all very helpful. Another resource I really want to recommend is meyerfire.com. When I started creating content, this was kind of at the back of my mind. Some of the things that he was doing I liked, and I would the greatest form of respect is emulating someone, and so in the back of my mind, some things about Meyerfire I did kind of want to emulate. I don't think I really have yet, but from my perspective, this content from Meyerfire is more from an engineering perspective, like an FPE's perspective. The stuff that I'm doing is more from the sprinkler fitter, sprinkler contractor's perspective. So all excellent information, just slightly different perspective on where it's coming from and what's going to be important. I'm thinking about, as a sprinkler fitter, sprinkler contractor, that business side of things, which is not necessarily the same as what a fire protection engineer is going to be, how they're going to be thinking about it. Now, another thing I recommend you sign up for, it's hard to recommend the NFPA website. It's kind of awful. They have made some improvements. I shouldn't say that. It's better than it was. But click on this spot here, go to nfpa.org, click on For Professionals. A menu will drop down, click on List of Codes and Standards. And this page will come up and you'll scroll down. You can find NFPA 13D if that's what you're working on, 13, or if you go to the next page, you'll find 13R. If you go to 13D, you have to scroll down a little bit and it's going to automatically be at the newest edition, 2025 in this case. And if you open the menu there, you can select the one that you're on, 2019 or 2022 at the moment, at most places we are working. And then you go and click on free access. And at that time, if you have not already created an account or signed in, it's going to ask you to sign in and or create an account if you have not. Once you get in, I do have to say, they updated this, about a year and a half ago, and it is better than it used to be, for sure. But they're really trying to push the NFPA link. I can't remember how much that costs a month, but I hate monthly fees of stuff, so there you go. Really, what I recommend is getting the handbook. As of right now, there is not a 13D handbook newer than 2016 that I know of. But hopefully that will be alleviated. Handbook has lots of great extra information written by the folks at NFPA that responsible for writing the code book, and they helping interpret what these things mean. So this week's assignment, you still have one, is to submit your two-story home project for review. You don't have to do it just though this week. You have basically 4 months, I would say, till the next boot camp. But you can submit it 3 times before then if you want, and we'll give you red lines back, give you feedback. All right, so thank you guys. That's it. I want to real quick plug all of my folks that helped me put this together. Chris Jansen, who is going to be on the podcast coming up with me soon, has his own podcast, the End Evil Podcast. You can find on YouTube. I recommend checking out this interview he did a while back. It's a pretty good one. Also, my man Chris Carrasco in Southern Oregon is another fellow serial entrepreneur. And if you are ever in Southern Oregon and need some help with fabrication, he is the man to talk to. And so I recommend connecting with him. He is in Williams, Oregon, and has a shop there, GNC Fabrication. You can find it on Facebook. If you need help and are not getting it, the lady to call is my beautiful wife, Monica. She is the one holding all these things together, responsible for everything you see on Kajabi working, flowing the way it does. If you are getting stuck anywhere, if you can't get a hold of me, send a request to Monica at mcadproductions.com, and she will know how to make it happen or who to talk to make it happen. Also want to shout out on the buttons. This is Martin and I, and we've got John Tiggy and Aaron Riles, all from the Autonomy crew, been working on producing live events. So if you need help producing online events, connect with me and we can talk to you about your needs, how we can help you. Well, that is the end of our presentation, guys. We will be moving shortly into a Q&A. I know there's not going to be a lot of people here potentially tonight because it is Christmas Eve. Might not be anyone. But we are, if anybody does show up, we will be answering questions. And in between time, for the intermission, we are going to be playing a couple short videos. This is about 7 minutes total for these 2 videos. We got a couple new bonus Lisp routines that we are going to be presenting to you guys. So here we go. 7 minutes. I will see you on the other side for Q&A. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, I want to do a quick video on one of our new Lisp routines. This is the delete hatch area command that we've created. And so the reason this is a useful tool for us here at MCAD, a lot of times when we are converting PDFs to DWG, or just actually even when we create DWGs from other CAD software, a lot of times it creates a lot of extra hatching that we don't necessarily need or want, and it's kind of can be a pain to erase it sometimes. It'll be inside of blocks and these types of things. And so this command just kind of overrides that and removes any hatch in the area that you select. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom into my command line here so you guys can see. And I'm going to go ahead and type in DEL. Oops, I got to click in the command area first. DEL H, and then you'll see it pops up there, delete hatch area. So I'm just going to hit enter. And now it's asking me to select entities. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. And one of the things about converting from PDF is sometimes text can actually get converted into hatching. And so I could just select this entire thing. But if I do that, if you'll notice, if I zoom back in here, when I right click and it removes all of the hatching, but it also removed some of that text. That's because it was hatching that it was created with. So I hit undo and brought it back. So if I go to my recent commands, delete hatch area, it's asking me to select again. So now I could just go in here and kind of selectively select just, the areas that I want without getting the text that I can see. Just kind of, you see I Just got rid of that stuff there. But either way, you want to use this if you want to just select everything with one big box or select small areas, just kind of easily removes hatching. So hope you find that helpful, guys. Thanks a lot. All right, guys, got a quick video about one of our new Lisp routines, merge layer. If I hop on over to my CAD program here, and some of you from the bootcamp may recognize this is our single-story ranch home, sample ranch home, our first project in the bootcamp to work on. And in this template, we have a lot of layers set up in a specific way so that commands will work with these Lisp routines that we've created, all sorts of things. So we have specific layer names, and all of that is required for these Lisp routines to work, and just, the efficiency that we've built into our workflow. But, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I didn't always have all of these things exactly the way they are. I've been building it over time. And so sometimes I have a need to bring in an older file to our newer template that wasn't set up with the exact same layers. They'll be very similar, but they'll be different names. And so what this tool allows me to do, this is our template from when we worked on our project for the sample ranch home. And I just pasted in a project that is from a couple of years back. This happens to be a PEX piping project, so it looks a little bit different than what you may be used to if you took our boot camp and we did a CPVC project. But what has happened now, because I brought this in, is that it created all sorts of extra layers. So if we take a look at our layers here, we'll notice that all of our architectural layers are grayed out, but then we've got our MCAD layers here in the middle with the colors we expect, and then there's all these extra layers. We've got a layer just called heads that's blue, rather than MCAD sprinkler head that's blue. We've got a layer that's pipe that's cyan, rather than MCAD pipe that's cyan. So what we're going to do is we'll just show you on pipe, but we'll be able to transfer with this command, the new Lisp routine, merge layer. We'll select one of the old pipes, and it'll just select all of it and transfer it over to this MCAD pipe layer. So let me go ahead and close this, and I'm going to zoom in on my pipe a little bit, and let's go ahead and zoom in on our command line as well. I'll type in merge layers, or merge layer, I guess. Now it's saying select an object on the layer to merge from. So I'm going to go ahead and select this pipe. I guess I got to click right on it. And it's telling me that this thing that I just selected is on the layer pipe. Now select an object on the destination layer, or type to enter the layer name. So we could just type in MCAD pipe, but I'm going to zoom out and go over here to our project that we've been working on. Just click on the pipe here. And so now, if I go over here and zoom in anywhere on this piping and select it, it is on the MCAD pipe layer now rather than pipe. And so if I zoom out and do an isolate layer, it's all on MCAD pipe now. So this is kind of a more advanced tool you may not need if you're just starting out with the basics, but if you're a more advanced user, this may be helpful for you. So if you do find these tools helpful, let us know, guys. And if there's a similar type tool that we could help you to help you with your workflow, be more productive, let us know, and we will see what we can do to help you accomplish that. All right, thanks a lot, guys. All righty. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. I don't know that we'll have any questions. It doesn't look like there's many people left here tonight. So I do want to just highlight, we did have a couple questions in the comments. Somebody was asking about when we were talking about the material takeoffs for our new list routines. They were asking about, what about with the fittings? Do you take RCs into consideration? That's the reducing coupling that's going from 1-inch plastic down to 1/2-inch threads for the sprinkler to screw into. And then also they were asking about material takeoffs for hangers. And so both of those items, I basically am not measuring separately. For RCs, basically we are already, we counted the number of sprinklers. And so there's an RC at every sprinkler. And so we just, that takes care of our RCs for our other fittings besides T's and elbows. And then for our hangers, the way that we approach that, so we measured we counted the number of sprinklers with our tools, our list routines. We counted the number of fittings, and then we counted the total length of all of the piping. And so all of this is 1-inch piping. First thing, a hanger is required every 6 feet on 1-inch CPVC. So I'm going to take the total length of CPVC pipe. I'm going to divide it by 6. Then I'm going to add to that the number of sprinklers that we had. I'm going to have 2 hangers for every sprinkler. So I'm going to add that. And then for every fitting, I'm going to do 2 hangers for every fitting. And so I'm going to add all of those numbers up, and that's how I'm going to come up with my total number of hangers. And so, I probably could create a separate list routine that just told me that as well. But I just compute it from those numbers that we already collected. But, great question. And if anybody, has similar questions or ideas for things like that could help their process flow, let me know and we can talk about how I can help you implement those things. But unless anybody else here has any questions they want to bring up, I want to just thank those few that made it here tonight. Really appreciate it. I know it was today, this is Christmas Eve. And in the future, we'll be moving this ahead so that we don't end up like that again. But still appreciate everybody. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out this next coming week still to make appointments with me. And if you guys are going to work on that second project, feel free to send those in for review over the next few months before the next boot camp in spring. Anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. Looking forward to the next boot camp and seeing you there and seeing you work on the next project. All right, guys, everybody have a great night.